Today on CityCast Boise, it's a new year and a new you, but are you still drinking the same old coffee? A while back, our producer Evelyn Avitia and newsletter writer Blake Hunter helped me figure out which local spot I should try next. We talked best communities, best specialty coffees, and which shops left us considering a switch to water. It's Tuesday, January 24th, 2023. I'm Emma Arnold, and this is CityCast Boise. Let's just start right out of the gate with best tasting coffee. And how about you say your best tasting coffee in Boise and your drink of choice so we know what you're getting. Evelyn, where are you going?
As always, I'm going to talk about Caldwell. And so the best coffee shop with the best tasting coffee is Jack Henry's, which was formerly Joltson Juice. This is the trial. I love white chocolate powder over white chocolate syrups. So if a coffee shop has white chocolate powder, that's already a plus. And so a white chocolate Americano, iced, of course, is my go-to.
Nice. Okay, Jack Henry's. I haven't tried that. I'll have to get out there and try that. Blake, what about you?
As far as like best just like coffee flavor, I'm a big fan of Broadcast. They've been open for about 2 years now over by the Schwiebeckner Web Park. And they have a good like spread of stuff in a nice space as well.
Yeah, I was going to honorable mention them because I only have gone there a couple times. I didn't realize they'd been there that long, actually. Boy, I was really behind the curve. Yeah, I've only been there twice, but I was going to say that was going to be my honorable mention. I was really impressed. Their coffee was delicious. It was really good. But my go-to for taste, and I buy their beans too, is going to be Push and Pour. I love the taste of thear coffee. And
I buy their beans too. They're so good.
I love their beans. They're so tasty, and you can get them in grocery stores now. I usually get an Americano with a little bit of cream. That's my go-to. But I'm going to be honest with you, not because that's my favorite. It's because I'm very cheap, and so an Americano, no matter where you're at, is usually like $3. So I usually get an Americano wherever I am. Every once in a while, I'll see I love a seasonal drink, whatever seasonal thing you got going on, I'm probably going to try. So if they have like a turmeric latte or like a lavender somewhere, I will probably end up trying that just because if you have a little sign with like a pumpkin drawn on it, I'm trying that.
You're sold.
I'm sold. It's interesting to me that in the last 5 years, coffee shops went from being sort of like your cozy hang with your friends spot to sort of becoming more like a uniform workspace for a lot of people. Yeah. And I think that in some ways, a lot of the Boise coffee shops, some of them have lost personality for that functionality. So I wanted to talk about let's say, what's your favorite workspace coffee shop versus your favorite cozy hang, a very individual place that feels very cozy and sweet to you. So, but why don't you start us out? What's your workspace?
My workspace, I have a remote job, which is great in many, many ways. But oftentimes I try to get out of my house and work for a few hours at a coffee shop a couple times a week just to get me outside. And I often go to Necker just because it's close. It has amazing coffee. The people there are all amazing every single time, and they have a very open dog policy. So last week I was there, and a little dog whose name was Frankie came up and was just wanting to be friends with everyone. And she had a little leopard jacket on, and then she just hopped up onto the bench. They have a bench with red velvet cushions, and she just hopped up to the bench and cuddled up next to me. Aww. And it was so sweet.
Little work buddy.
Yeah, which maybe isn't super conducive to working, but I do work there a lot just because it's really light and airy and fun.
Yeah, I love Necker. Great coffee, nicest people, and it is a nice little spot to work with that long bench. It can be a great spot.
It is, and it's just beautiful in there. It's just a really fun space to hang out in. For something a bit cozier, I'd probably go to the Flying M. If I have a friend in town or we're just talking to someone, then probably just go hang out there because it feels, I agree with you, Emma. I think that in a place like Necker, oftentimes if someone's having a conversation between two people, I often kind of catch myself looking over and being you're talking too loud. And then I'm this is a coffee shop. This isn't a workspace.
Yeah, but it has that feel.
It does. Whereas in Flying M, I think that it's, definitely more chatty. And I mean, Necker like is not always like that. I don't want to make people think it's like a super sterile way, but
Well, and it's certainly not they're trying to make it that way,
No.
but I've definitely been in Necker with like two comedian friends being loud and very annoying and being like, we gotta go.
Yeah.
People are trying to get stuff done. This is
Yeah.
not that vibe. But Flying M, I feel like you can be as noisy as you want, and it's got a much more like communal vibe there
it does.
for sure.
I agree.
Okay, but here's the difference. All three Flying M's are completely different.
They are.
That's true.
The Boise, Caldwell, Nampa, all of them are different. And so when I need to get work done, I'm going to the Flying M in Nampa because it's huge. It has so much space. Everyone's spread out.
Yep.
I think, it's a really good work environment. But also, if you want to be social, there are those little areas where it's like, okay, let's move over here. Like it's louder. Or, oh, let's move over here. It's super quiet. But if I do want to, hang out with friends and all of that, the Flying M in Caldwell is smaller. So that one's super loud all the time when it's packed. And so it's easier to hang out, lounge around, play games. But yeah, working at the Flying M in Nampa, the best one. I think that's the best Flying M out of all of them. I'm going to say it.
You know, I mean, they feel so separate to me, like you're saying. Like I almost can't weigh the Boise against the Nampa, because the Nampa, I've done stuff there, and you're right, it's really great for working. It feels so open, and I don't know, I couldn't choose between those two. For workspace, I get a ton of work done at the Java on 13th. I love that little spot. I love the inside, and the patio is so great. And also a lot of times, especially if I'm writing, I can work for like an hour and then just like go for a walk up at Camel's Back and then come back and like work for another hour and kind of stretch my legs. And I find that like very helpful. So I love the Java 13th. Also, lots of cuties, just so many cuties at the Java 13th. You always like see a whole bunch of like cute, fun people there. So love it there.
And also, I mean, you put any business in just like a house, like what was formerly a house, and I'm sold. I just it just has such a charm to it.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
And obviously, it just feels very at place in Hyde Park. And I love that spot too.
Okay, let's talk a little shit. Why not? Let's say most overrated coffee shop. And you know what? I'll start us out. I'm going to say it, and they might not like it. Slow by Slow for me. It's going to be Slow by Slow. I was, because it was right next to where the comedy club used to be. I used to be in there all the time. I used to think that was a really nice work spot. I love those big tables.
Those are
the
nice.
quality, it's for working. It was always a nice spot, but the quality of the coffee has gone real downhill. And the last two times I got coffee there, I was like, this is a real production, because they, the whole thing is that they do like a slow drip. And I was like, this just isn't my jam. It's just, I don't like their coffee. And I kind of like, I don't know, the last few times I was there, it was the music was a little loud and it was like harder to work and stuff. So that's my overrated. There, I said it. What about you guys?
I can go with this one because, again, might not be a popular pick, but I feel quite strongly about it because I always walk by and they're always busy, and I don't admit, it's just not the space for me. But I just am not a big fan of the District. I also think that their coffee is kind of like, I don't know, it just doesn't quite hit the spot that I'm looking for. And then I think part of the reason that I don't really vibe with it is because I kind of, if I'm trying to work, I just kind of need to like sit down and have my own little space. And I think that it just feels so big and open that I just feel constantly distracted.
It has a very like open mic night vibe there.
It does.
Too.
Yeah.
Like,
which makes sense because they do have a stage, which is super
absolutely.
sick. And I have been to, like a couple Treefort shows there. And that's great. But it's just never my go-to.
Yeah. I totally feel that. Every time I'm there, I'm always like, it feels a little chaotic in here for me. It's a little much.
I'm just a little stressed. Yeah,
I get that. Evelyn, what about you?
How do I go about this? I don't have an answer because I feel like I'm always on the go. So I'm going through like drive-thrus, or I'm hitting up our chains like Starbucks and all of that. I'm a huge Human Bean hater. I hate that place. But I'm interested to see how you guys feel about like the little drive-through shops like Dutch and Human Bean and other ones that people go crazy about. Like those lines are huge.
They are.
Yeah, I am not a Dutch Bros fan, partly because I know some teenagers who have worked there. They pay $8.25 an hour. Their whole thing is that they create like a culture of like, oh, it's fun, but then they don't pay well. And one of my kids' friends got in trouble for having a water bottle, because you know how they have the kids outside like taking orders.
Yeah.
She got in trouble for having a water bottle like outside, and they were like, you can't have a water bottle. And this was when it was like 105 out. And they were like, you can't have a water bottle. It's unprofessional. And I was like, not that I was hitting Dutch Brothers a time. I'll hit it occasionally, but it's not like I hit it all the time. But knowing that they pay those poor kids $8.25 an hour and they aren't allowed to have water outside, I will never go to Dutch Bros because of that now.
It's just too culty for me too. I don't know.
God.
It just like really kind of like preys on people a little bit, I feel like. And Evelyn, to your question about like the drive-throughs, I don't know. I kind of have mixed feelings about it because I'm all for it. Like the utility of it makes a lot of sense to me. But I think that like the branding and kind of like the overzealousness about them and the obsession is just like a little overwhelming. I'm like, yeah, it makes sense that this is a place that you want to go because of the convenience, but why are we freaking out about it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I will say I think my favorite of like kind of those like drive-through ones is probably Black Rock. Although I don't think I've ever actually been inside of a Black Rock space, but some of their stuff is, good.
So we were talking about, some of these coffee shops have turned into workspaces and they've become more uniform and like, feel more like a Starbucks instead of something that's like distinctly Boise. Where do you go for pure Boise or Caldwell vibes? If you're just like, I need to feel like I'm in my city with my people, Blake, start us out.
I mean, I think we've already touched on this where like Flying M really does kind of feel like at the crux of a lot of things. It just like culturally feels like a rich, like fun place that feels very Boise specific. So I guess that would kind of be one. And then on like the other end of the sphere, I think that both the Javas also do kind of have a specific to Boise feel. I do prefer the one on 13th, but I think that those are a good runner-up.
Yeah, I agree with that fully. Evelyn?
Yeah, so I finally went to check out this new place that popped up in Caldwell, and it's called Bond and Bevel. And I will say, at first, I was not interested because I stalked their Instagram. And the way it goes is that it is a husband and a wife, and they opened this shop together, and one of them creates like all these leather pieces, leather work, but it's also a coffee shop. And so it just looked manly AF. And I am obviously all about, the cute vibes. And so I was like, oh goodness, like, okay, do I want to go try this place? And so I finally walked in and I see a bunch of elderly men sitting down, talking, families walking in. And I kind of loved the environment. I was like, wait, this is actually kind of really cool. And I started talking to the owners and they were just so excited. And I loved the concept. And so I feel like that's a good representation of Caldwell.
When you first said leather, I was like imagining like a BDSM like leather community.
Yeah, I mean in Bond, it's right there. In the, I was like, God. Well, I'll be out to Caldwell tomorrow.
Yeah,
very interested in this concept.
Evelyn, I don't know if that's really feels like Boise, but I'm interested.
I don't know what beveling is. Sounds hot too. Into it. Let's check it out.
And the coffee was good, so I'll give them that.
Leather and old men. Love it. Love this Caldwell vibe that you're putting out here.
Yeah, my Lana Del Rey era.
I love it. I'm going to go for mine. I'm going to go for best Boise vibes. And obviously I'm so biased about this, but the Garden City Push and Pour has become such a big part of my life because I have shows there and I am friends with the owners and stuff. But really, it's become such a big part of my life to be able to like go down to Push and Pour and to do shows there. But I also feel like they've done such a good job at both stores, like creating an atmosphere where people want to hang out, which I feel like a lot of coffee shops like have become places to work and not places to like be with your people. And I love every other Wednesday, some friends of mine, we meet, we have coffee, we go for a walk, and it's become like a tradition. And it feels like like Evelyn was saying, like it's like a home. It feels like a little bit of a home. Like you were saying, there's these little old men there hanging out and talking. And I feel like, we don't have like these places as much as we used to where you would go and like be social and hang out. And the Push and Pour Garden City still feels very like that to me and feels very like, I don't know, sweet and cozy. So that's my pick.
I feel like I want to give Push and Pour some love too, because I feel like they have just done so much with all of their locations to feel really part of the community and their like respective communities that they're like geographically placed within. And like even like Emma, you have a Push and Pour mug, and your mug, like the art on it is by Miguel Almeida, who's like a local artist.
Yeah. They're really good at incorporating the community into, into events and their merch. And I just love that about them. And yeah, so those are my picks. That was so great. Thank you for your coffee opinions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And here's some news to know today. The Idaho Capital Sun is reporting that the Idaho House State Affairs Committee easily passed House Bill 2, which would cut the sales tax revenue provided to cities that won't enforce the state's abortion bans. The bill targets Boise, the only city in the state that hasn't signified that it won't fund investigations into anyone who receives an abortion. That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend? Leave us a review and subscribe to our Hey Boise newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more local stories from around the city. Bye!